welcome to the Cockeral Clock podcast. Yes, I know we're on a Thursday evening. I know it's not Friday, but some other channel wanted to do their fan show on a Friday, and we wouldn't want to clash with them. So we've moved it to a Thursday, and we're now going to move it to Monday. So that it's been moved around a bit. We're a bit like a traveling wheelbarrow. We just get on our bike and we just go where we want. But good evening and welcome to everyone to this podcast. With me tonight, well, I'm surrounded by legends. I rarely am. Absolute legends. With next to me is my co-host who does come on to me time to time, keeps me in check. But when she does come on, it ends up going sideways. We end up getting into dog collars, SMN, and everything else in between. It's the one and only from Spurs Between the Lines, and give your head a wobble while you're doing it. It's Mia. How are you, Mia, this evening?
I'm not too bad. You probably missed out a little bit, like the Durex and Viagra, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that will come later.
The boys are like, what are they talking about?
I feel like I walked into the BDSM podcast or something like that.
Yeah, no. All what happened was earlier we did actually talk about naming rights for the stadium, and I stupidly said on the show, right, who comes up with the most outrageous name will win a book, because Philip's got this book by Norman Geller about the Jimmy Greaves and I forget his name, the other striker for Spurs. And we gave a cup. Carl won it, and everything came out from Durex to everything you can think of. It was just, it got me banned off Facebook for 24 hours. That stream did, and I'm blaming her next to me. That side, it was her fault. She started it, and of course down below they are legends. These are Spurs legends. These are people you want to get your autographs with. You go to Tottenham, you don't see Jack because he's too busy. Have people. His female fan club is a mile around the corner, and everyone wants his autograph. And then the chip man himself, Mr. Chippy, down the bottom, Burger King, he has fans around that corner for autographs. It is Dave and Jack, rarely royalty. And Jack, how are you? It's a long time since you've been on here, so welcome back. And it's great to have you. I'm absolutely honored you're on tonight.
Thanks for welcoming back, Dermatron. Hopefully the missus isn't listening. Hopefully there is no lineup, of any kind. I would prefer just a lineup, of just people all, flat capped up and, and everything. But good to be back here, Dermatron. Thanks for having me.
I was actually going to say that Jack will be riding the choo-choo train. It was like with Ange on the side.
That's true. Yeah,
that's
true.
where I belong.
And down below, well, if you think I'm deluded, this fella below me is deluded, but I'm more deluded than him now. I've taken over his crown. He knows I have. Of course, he's one of the nicest men on YouTube. He is probably my best mate as well on YouTube as well as Jack is. But Dave, he only lives up from another county for me. I live in the best county, by the way. We've got the best strawberries now, so you can't say nothing, you Mr. Kildare, man. Of course, it's the one and only, the Irish Hotspur himself, Mr. Dave Harris. Dave, how are you this evening, sir?
Yeah, looking clean, feeling supreme, Dermot. I feel good today, my man. Got the fresh cut for the game at the weekend. But look, Dermot, I would speak nicely to me because I just call we're the home of the defence forces. So we just won't defend Wexford. If anything ever goes down there, I'll leave you on your own. So, you want to speak kindly to us up here, man.
That's okay. I've got relatives that, my history's with Mick Collins. You know that yourself, brought an entire nation to its knees with a man on the bicycle and 10 grand on his head. So I'm
How much you pay for that history, Darryl?
Huh?
How much you pay for that history?
$2.99. They're paying the rest tomorrow. As yourself, Dave, I got the haircut as well, freshly shaved, all ready for Sunday. Yeah, I know. You look very smart, Dave. Right. What we're going to talk about tonight? Well, firstly, we're all going to wish the Godfather get well soon. He has got COVID, bless him. I spoke to him today. He's bored. He's frustrated. And it would have been him and his wife's wedding anniversary on Friday, and they can't go away now. So, Mrs. Brady, sorry. It was nothing to do with me and Mia. We had nothing to do with it. But Philippa, you're watching. Get well soon, sir. And I think he's back Monday, so it'd be great to have you back, sir.
Get well soon, Philip.
Coincidental timing with the Liverpool game. I don't think he wanted to give up the Liverpool game. I think it's all a masterstroke to be able to sit there Saturday, 5:30, feet up, watch the game.
I think it was Paul Merson's comments that maybe just made him, end up, falling ill, and I don't blame him. And also probably Darren Bentz as well. But Philip, I would say while you're recovering, stay away from Sky Sports, stay away from the Talk Sport headlines. You need to recover, my friend. Big up, Philip.
I was going to say, who wasn't sick from those comments?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Philip,
I think they made us all a little bit sick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, Philip, can't wait to have you back and get well soon, my man. Right,
Let-
here
Get
we
well
go.
soon, Philip.
Now, the last few days, we're not going to start in the North London derby. That's for later. Now, I was watching a lot of Talk Sport the last few days for Simon Jordan and talking about football and money in football. And Southend United got deducted 10 points for going into administration again. And it got me thinking, should like the Premier League do more for these lower clubs? And I was on today this afternoon at 4:00, and me and Colin were talking about the differences in wages. Jack Grealish is on 230 grand a week, while a player for Doncaster Rovers is only on 3 grand a week. Now, with the Super League and all these advisory fan boards coming along, there was call for an independent football regulator to do football and actually cover it and actually make sure it's run properly. So the first question is, does football need an independent football regulator, Jack? And if yes, why?
I don't think it will ever look in that sort of format, because if you have some sort of independent regulator, then there needs to have been somebody that goes above the Premier League and forces them to have some type of independent regulator that's equal to them, keeps them in check, has just the same amount of power as they do. And I don't think that could ever happen, because if I'm not mistaken, the Premier League is sort of its own, in a way, its own kind of private body. Like it could just kind of just say no, even if the government sort of said to them, we need you to do X, X, and X. I think within most, kind of reasons, unless they're really violating something, they probably can just say, no, we don't need independent regulators or anything like that. I think what they would probably accept, or maybe would listen to, are probably some type of consultants or some type of consultancy roles, maybe allowed within the Premier League, that of course are appointed maybe by, maybe the actual government, of the UK.
Yeah.
I think that's would probably be the most likely outcome. And in that case, dependent on how much the Premier League actually listens to them, they could easily throw them in an office, shut the door and lock it, and no one would actually listen to them, sort of thing. That happens all the time. But if you actually were to take that sort of seriously, or if they were to take that seriously, I could see some good things coming out of it. At the end of the day, though, I think they've made their colors, or I don't know, they've clearly chosen, their path, which has been to achieve the most revenue and profit as possible. The TV revenue streams that they sell to the highest bidder. They are constantly spending more money on trying to figure out, any sort of pirating streams and things like that. They're investing like billions of dollars into figuring out how to stop all the pirating streams, instead of investing maybe in other things that they probably could be, better served in. They also as well have accepted, people like Newcastle to come into the Premier League, and, even Roman Abramovich previously to come into the Premier League. They've accepted the money to reach to a stand where it's almost like monopoly. I don't know. Like, I think it's almost too late. I think it is just going to reach this state of ridiculousness. I think it already is at that state, but I could see it where the government forces them to take consultants. Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I'll come to you in a minute, Dave. Mia, look, we've seen transfer fees look like a player 10 years ago or 5 years ago, 30 million, now going for 100 million. We're seeing wages just go out of control. We're seeing transfer wage fees going out of control. We're seeing clubs spending beyond their means. Now, Tottenham, for example, won't spend they won't spend outside their means. They're a properly run club. Look at Manchester United. In the next 3 years, they could be going out of business and going into administration. They cannot borrow. They are debted out to the last. Should the Premier League have done more to stop a club like as big as Manchester United going into this sort of situation? Mia?
I'm sorry. It's really difficult because with the way that clubs are run now, a lot of it is doing money, right? And the problem that Manchester United has is their own downfall, because they've overpaid for so many players and got themselves into bother, right? And that's all down to their ownership and the way that they're run, that they continue to do it. And with a club as big as Manchester United, it shouldn't have got to this situation, but it has because of their ownership, basically. And it's a hole that they just keep digging themselves. As far as wages and players' prices, it has gone up way above, obviously, what may be inflation of what you expect a player to go up by. But again, this is a problem because the Saudi League have come in and paying such a big amount of money for players that everybody has to keep up. So these unfortunate circumstances happen, and they raise the prices of so many different players, and so then other players have to go for more, and then clubs in Europe don't get as much money, so they end up not having enough money. So it all kind of has such a knock-on effect, you know. Yeah. But I do think that Manchester United got themselves into this because of the amount of money they overpaid. They've overpaid, and the wages that they pay, because they want a player so much that they will pay a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah. So it should be owners that are kept in check and made sure that the rules are applied to them correctly if they do break those rules.
Now, Dave, look, has the horse bolted now? Like with the state ownerships of Manchester City, Newcastle, look, even people from Qatar looking to buy Tottenham. Has the horse bolted the barn now? Is it too late to do anything? Because whatever you do, we've had Abramovich, we've got these now state-owned clubs now. It's too late to do anything, and it's just going to get out of control. Will football one day go bust? The bubble will just go bang, and then all the clubs were thinking, what do we do now?
Look, it very well could, but those have been run properly and financed, you know, sort of managed properly. They'll be the ones that'll survive. And at the end of the day, you know, it's tough ticks on some of these owners if they're spending way beyond their means. You know, look, when the Glazers walked into United, they had the best in class of standard already there when they bought it. They're the ones that let that rot, you know. That's what led to them overpaying for all these supposed superstars. And you know what happens when you overpay? People get comfortable. They just don't give you everything that they were given at, you know, the previous club where you bought them. It's just natural. The more comfortable you get in life, the more complacent you usually get. It's just a normal thing in life. So, you know, that's the Glazers' fault. That's their own fault. What needs to be done? I think, look, the horse is already bolted. And to be honest with you, I don't want government getting involved with regulators and stuff like that in football. Look, some will already say governments are already involved in football with the Qataris and, you know, the city ownership and Newcastle ownership and stuff like that. But look, I think what they need to do now is just relook at the owners. There's a test you have to do, fit for purpose test. Relook at that, you know, whatever, you know, make the threshold a bit higher, stuff like that, you know, put new rules and regulations in place. And look, that has to start with FIFA, right? They're the governing body of the whole lot. So you'd already sort of say it's already regulated by FIFA and UEFA and stuff like that. However, that needs a cleanup, and that's where your problem lies. There's, you know, we can sit here and moan about, you know, some of these governments coming in and buying clubs and people don't agree with it for ethical reasons, which I fully understand. However, that's on FIFA to control that. But because, you know, you've seen all the bribes that they've taken for the World Cups and everything else, they've already sold their soul. And that needs a complete cleanup from top to bottom. And until you get that, you're not going to see any fairness in football. You're just not, because it's not the way it's run from the top down. The top down is done through bribes. We've seen that. And no matter how much they say they've cleaned it up, I still don't really 100% trust them. I don't trust the VAR systems that they've brought in and stuff like that, because I think you can very easily manipulate leagues and games and everything else using that. And I do not like it whatsoever. Look, I think there's a lot more to come out about football, you know, the corruption within football. I think there's already so much that, you know, hasn't been uncovered yet, this, that, and the other. I think there's a lot more to come, and it could take something absolutely seismic to shake the footballing world for people and other people to get involved and have a look at it and try and sort it out. A bit like what happened with the FAI chief at Ireland, Dermo. Spent the Irish football money not into grassroots. You're playing on pitches here on hills, slants, potholes, everything else. It's an absolute joke. I remember we had to go out and pick up sheep shit off our local pitch before we could go and play on a Saturday. You know what I mean? That's the standard of Irish football at fucking grassroots. It's a disgrace. But that's because the owner of the FAI, he was spending the money on his daughter's birthday party, holidays, you know, his wife's birthday parties, weddings, absolutely everything else where that money shouldn't go. And that was allowed to fly. FIFA let him away with it. The Irish government let him away with it. Didn't see a prison term and stuff like that. So, you know, until all this corruption is weaned out of football, you'll never see it, you know, ever. It be fair, in my opinion.
But the unfortunate thing is, Dave, is that where there's a lot of money, there's always going to be a lot of corruption. When you deep dive it, like everywhere where there's big money, there's corruption, right? It's such a difficult
the money at the top, it's never clean money, is it?
Oh no, never clean money, never ever. The amount of pounds what it's gone through, you know.
Every football fan, I think, is prisoner to whatever owner that you have. And that owner can either drive you up to the very top or they can drive you to the very, very bottom. But it is up to what Dave said, the actual fit, you know, proper fit and purpose test. And there just needs to be a complete revamp of that. Clearly, the Premier League, I don't trust them to actually do it themselves. They don't really seem to be keen on wanting to do it. So it needs to be forced by someone else. I wish it were from an independent regulator. I don't see that happening. I could see that either happening through kind of the government of some kind or through maybe UEFA or FIFA if they have that sort of kind of power. But I don't know. That's, I think what Dave said with kind of the just revamping, you know, those sort of kind of tests, I think would sort of solve everything. Because, but in the case of Man United, like, I don't know, like they won so many trophies for so many years. And like Mia said, their problems are more just a condition of really their own just kind of self-stupidity. Whereas like you look at clubs like Barry FC, clubs like Southend United, clubs that are maybe originally in the original Premier League that are now all the way down in the Football League and in the Conference League. That sort of says a lot, you know, and those are the ones that maybe you should care for more.
It does. Sorry, Mia, go on.
Yeah, do you know what, right? The problem there is like with someone like Man United, they give them a fee, right? And the fee means nothing to them. They're just like, cool, we'll just pay a fee if they break the FFP rules. The FFP rules don't deter people from breaking the rules. That's your problem. They don't deter them from doing it.
Now, I'm a massive fan of Formula One, as we all know. Now, they've got sort of an FFP rule in Formula One. You can only spend a certain amount. It's like a cost cap. You can't spend beyond
on
that
the car.
On the car. Now, Red Bull got caught for overspending on that. They lost 10% on the wind tunnel. Now, you may say, what's 10% on the wind tunnel? It's half a second a lap. So if you're well ahead with the best car and you lose 10%, you're down in the second or third best car. So there's your punishment. There should be more punishment in football for teams that overspend. Points deductions, transfer embargoes, demotion.
But Dermo, you're asking. I fully agree with you. But you're asking corrupt people to hand corrupt people punishments. They're never going to hand out severe punishments, and that's the biggest problem. There is no deterrent to, like what Mia is saying, the financial fair play rules. How many clubs have we heard over the last 10 years being investigated? What's ever come out of it? Zilch. Nothing. Maybe one transfer window embargo. That's about it. You know, the likes of some of the match fixing and stuff like that went on, you know, across Europe and stuff like that. Not much severe punishments. There's no deterrent for anything in football. You know, why would UEFA or FIFA punish the biggest clubs in Europe that bring in the biggest revenue? And all they'll ever do is just try and find more ways around it. Like, look at Juventus, caught with all the financial stuff with the likes of, who was it, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and they're trying to bring about the Super League so that they don't have to adhere to financial fair play rules and all this sort of stuff. So all they ever do is just try and find new ways. And until there's an absolute deterrent, like you're talking about, it's just going to keep happening.
Do you know what? It's crazy because we've just heard about Barcelona, right? And let's see what happens there. They've been caught paying off referees, but they've got a whole government that back them. So what's going to happen to them? Corrupt people support them. And the same with Madrid. They're corrupt people support them. So it doesn't matter. The punishments mean nothing because they just get away with it time and time again.
Do. Now, Jack, a lot of NFL, am I right? There's a wage cap in NFL? Am I right? That was is it a transfer
Every
cap
American
or a wage
sport, every American sport has a wage cap and some sort of salary cap for all the players. Yeah, and how much they can spend.
Yeah, do you think that could work in the Premier League to have a transfer and wage cap? You can spend how much as you like, but you can only give a player a certain amount of wage, or each team you can't spend more than 100 million on any player. Do you think that could work in football? Or do you think it's two different sports completely and what wouldn't work?
I think it would work, but I don't think it will ever happen. I think it's just something that has just been like football seems to have just so much money in it that to limit all these clubs to that sort of type of spending in a way, I guess is just, I don't know. I think it's partially just, I guess, how the game has gone that I don't think it could ever go to that. Like we've now tasted caviar that we could never go back to, like bologna sandwiches of like 75 million, transfer budgets. Now every fan is getting used to their club spending at least 100 million every single summer. I don't think you could get fans to all of a sudden go back to, 70 million only. I think it'd just be hard. Even the natures of conversations you hear on Talk Sport are ridiculous. They're like, talking about how they need a backup center mid that costs 50 million, these sort of things. And I don't know. I think it's too far gone for that sort of situation. I think it would work, but it's too far gone.
But I also think you probably take a lot of the money, man, out of football. The attraction to football is the amount of money you can make off it. You start capping what you can do with it, all of a sudden, then money people will go and look for the next venture. They'll be out of football. So then you might end up hindering yourself as well. So...
And also, if they do it just in the Premier League, they'll just go to Saudi and get the big wages.
Yeah.
I think the Saudi League's going to be the biggest problem we're going to face in football, because they want to get into the Champions League and European competitions. Well, if you do, then you have to abide by our rules. But full well, as Dave pointed out earlier, you give them a brown paper bag at UEFA and FIFA, they're going to fall over themselves as quickly as they can grab it, and and that's it. For me, football is ruined. I love the sport. I love my club. I'll always will love my club, and I'll always will love football. But I think Jack was spot on. You look at American sport, it's done properly. I don't think, Jack, has there ever been any match fixing in American football or recently?
Definitely. I think
in the last 10 years?
Yeah, there was even a referee in the NBA who got caught for a lot of sort of match fixing and, match gambling and everything. There are a lot of players that got caught for gambling and everything. Even I believe Michael Jordan, if he played in the modern game today, would probably, not be allowed to do what he used to do. But I don't know. I think what the U.S. does do correctly is technically, while a lot of these franchises make an exceptional amount of money, they don't allow them to spend as much money as they theoretically could, which technically makes it for a less exciting sport. But I think it also makes it a fairer game, because then you just have a variety of teams constantly competing, and you don't have this stupid pyramid and hierarchy where you have a bunch of teams like Man United who have been underperforming and overspending for a ton of years, and Chelsea included over the last couple of years. And then they don't end up really getting punished for it. They can just kind of constantly just stay afloat. And that seems sort of unfair to everybody else.
Yeah, I find it's like the same team winning the Super Bowl every year. It's always a different team
or the
every
same
year.
4 teams or same 5 teams. That's that would be sad.
And I think
that's not a thing in American sports.
No, that's why it makes American football so unpredictable, because you don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl when the season starts, so it ends. You could, I don't know, the New York team from New York could win it this year, and they come out of nowhere. So, look, it does need looking at. I just feel I fear for the future of football, not for our generation. I think for the generation after us. But that was a good discussion. I enjoyed that. I want to welcome a few people in. We've got Boris Britt, big up. Haven't seen you before. Please hit that like button and subscription button. It says the Saudi League won't get into the Champions League for a few years until the next leadership of UEFA comes in and gets bribed by enough to allow them in. Probably true. Wilton saying, big up Wilton, 100% Jack. This man is a legend. He chucked a TV over the banister when Ian Walker made a mistaken goal into a swimming pool. He lives in Florida, Wilton. Big up. I'd love to get him on one day. Him and Philip Brady together. I also got Gio Ria. Big up, Gio. And haven't seen you before, so welcome. And please hit that like button and subscription button. Not my channel, Mia's, and the lads' channel below as well. And we've got Daniela Zito. Big up, Daniela. Hope you're doing. She says good evening. Doing right. Well, sort of on the same bracket, lads and ladies. Should the Premier League do more for the lower leagues? Now, look, we all talk about a pyramid in football where the rich and then the money should trickle down to grassroots. Philip, I know me and Dave know a lot about the Irish system over here. It's broken. It's been broken for years. I can remember as a young lad, Dave going out to pitches doing the same thing as you when I was younger. And it's just completely GAA gets more funding over here than Irish soccer does over here as a joke. We won't spend too much on this because I want to get on to VAR and the news come out with the referee and then the refereeing standards of the game on Sunday, which I thought was atrocious. Just very quickly, Jack, and I'll just round the table of this. Do you think the Premier League should do more for the lower leagues? Or do you think there's nothing they can do?
I think they have enough money to spare.
Yeah.
I mean, what is like, I don't know, like they could all spare, for the most part, at least the established top six could easily part ways with 10, 15 million. And that 10, 15 million would go a long ways, then slowly stagger down the leagues. And everybody loves to talk about, I'm not obviously from the UK, but there is this sort of pride that the Premier League is the best league in the world. Why not also believe that the leagues below it are also the best leagues, in the world? I wouldn't say that's the case technically. You look at the championship right now, it's a bit chaotic, and it's kind of chaotic in a good way, but also a bad way. It's because there's actually a bunch of owners that don't really care anymore about really investing that much in their team. They're just sort of hopeful that they might get into the Premier League and then they can use that parachute money, etc. If there was more money afforded to them, I think there'd be more teams in League Two, in the football league, in the National League, and they would be trying to actually go for it, and they would be trying to and they would have more money technically to spend to get things right. Now they don't really have enough money to spend to get things right. They sort of rely on Ryan Reynolds and those sort of guys to buy up their clubs and try to drive them up to the very, very top. And if you rely on some sort of sugar daddy takeover to get you to the top, that seems a bit sad, because then you're only just going to be one of the lucky ones, or you're not going to be one of the lucky ones. Whereas I'd rather it be maybe more of a fair shot for some of the other teams to really try to drive their way up to the top of the Premier League. And not everybody's going to be as smart as Brighton. Technically, you should ask that teams should try to be as smart as Brighton, but not everybody's going to be as smart as them. And I do think they deserve a better chance. I think the Premier League is the best league in the world. I wouldn't say the Championship is. Actually, you look at some of the other leagues around the world that are sort of the second division. For example, the Bundesliga right now happens to have all the best sort of like teams, it feels like now, in kind of the second league, and that has actually greater attendance than the Championship does. And also, I think that's the case with maybe some other leagues around Europe as well. So maybe there should be more of a drive to get some of the other leagues within the football pyramid in the UK to be better.
Jack, very quickly, do you think the Bundesliga, what they do in Germany, is a model that everyone should follow? Because I've watched a lot of German football, and I love the atmospheres. I love where the fans come in with the flags, and it's just mental over there. It just looks, you can go there, have a great day out, and it's not that even some clubs pay for their away fans to buy their train tickets. Is that a model, do you think, some Premier League teams could actually follow?
No, because you're then going to not become technically the highest quality product in the world anymore, because you're not going to be able to spend the same amount of money that you used to be able to. You're not going to have all the same commercial deals that you used to be able to, because it's 50% fan ownership. It's just, you're not going to make the same amount of money. Therefore, you're probably going to have not as good of a product. And I don't think the Premier League would be willing to sacrifice that. I think the Bundesliga will never be the best league in the world.
No.
It might have a few years where it's kind of like really good and it actually ends up being maybe one of the best leagues, but it's never going to be for like a sustained period of time. It's going to always go through its bad periods and its good periods. because there's not enough money in it for it to be the best league in the world.
Yeah.
The thing is, the clubs don't have to pay for, their fans to travel to away games. Just don't put up the prices of tickets. There's ways you can help the fans like that without having to actually shell out for travel and stuff like that. I do think Premier League clubs could do a lot more with their fans and a lot more interactions and stuff. Look, as far as, should the Premier League be helping out the lower league? If you go and look at the spends of the lower leagues, they're spending more than ever before. They're already feeling the benefit of the money from the Premier League trickling down. The relegated teams already get parachute payments, which means, them teams are going down into the Championship. They're buying the best players from the clubs around the Championship. That money's being filtered out. So it is already being actually filtered down the pyramid. England has, some of the sporting facilities over there, even at grassroots levels, is absolutely insane compared to a lot of facilities around Europe. So for me, I think they already sort of trickle down. The problem with a lot of them lower league teams, Dermot, is again the owners. It's the tests. And it's a different test for the EFL than it is for the Premier League.
Yeah,
so it's less of a criteria again that they have to meet. And that's the problem. You go and look at clubs down the years like Bury, for instance. They didn't go because the Premier League weren't helping them. They went because the guy passed a test that he should never have passed. And he wouldn't have passed it for a Premier League club and stuff like that. And that's the whole point around it. It's the criteria for people to get into football is the problem. It's not the money not being filtered down, because it naturally gets filtered down the pyramid. The problem is the people vetting the people buying clubs. You go across YouTube, the amount of clubs that you can go and watch documentaries on where they've had gangsters buying them. Like, how are gangsters getting their hands on football clubs, for instance? How are they passing these tests without having legitimate money to back it up? That's the problem. That is the whole problem. It's the fit for purpose test and the people who pass them. That's the problem.
Yeah, and Mia, look, we've got Boris Britt saying a perfect example of the amount of money Leicester has spent like 10 million on wings, whereas another Championship club spend like 10 million across 4 or 5 players. I mean, look, should the club? I mean, should the Premier League do more? Is Dave on to a point? Is the fit and proper entrance exam that these owners, exams to have to take, Mia, or don't know what is it? Because is it getting out of control, or is it already out of control? If you know what I mean.
I kind of partly agree with Dave and partly agree with Jack, because to be honest, I understand that obviously it's about the people who own clubs and what they have to do to prove themselves to own a club is obviously not a good enough level, because there's clubs going out of business. Now, when you think about it though, as fans of those clubs, you've got to feel for those fans, right? Their clubs are going out of business, and perhaps there is more to be done, because it's not just about the league below us, it's about the other leagues further down, who obviously struggle, because if they're not making it into the realms of being able to get that money, because they get parachute payments because they go up and then come back down, or whatever payments they get, the extra money, they're going to struggle and go further and further down. Because I actually speak with somebody who is a Sunderland fan, and it's really interesting to talk to somebody who I knew when I was a kid was in the Prem, right? It's like a bit like Blackburn. When I was a kid, Blackburn won. They won. And it's like now you look at a team like that and how they've dropped off, and you think, but they had that money from the Premier League and when they were in the Prem, but it's easily done where they can just drop off. So maybe there needs to be better tests, absolutely. But when it comes to the League Ones, League Two, all them leagues, I feel like maybe they don't get a fair enough share of maybe what happens, because the money goes to the Championship. They get their parachute money if they come up and go down. But like I say, there's a lot of clubs who yo-yo between the other leagues who they're not going to get as much money, and they're the ones that struggle and go out of business. Because remember when we were playing, who was we playing, and everybody bought virtual tickets, didn't they? For them.
Was that the FA Cup third round game?
It was the cup, weren't it? And
Marine was it? Marine?
Was it Marine? And everybody bought the virtual tickets, because you want to support clubs like that. Because a club like Marine, what money would they truly be getting, and not having that game, not having fans there? was a huge, massive miss for them, even if they don't get that many fans going there. You know, it's just it is a bit of both, basically. I would say.
See, there used to be a system in place called the feeder club system. And basically, you partnered with a club lower down the league. You paid them so much every year, and then you could send your players there on loan. And you know, it's you can sort of have an agreement where it's like, look, you basically develop our players. We'll pay you £1 million a year. That used to be a system that was in place. So then Premier League clubs were helping them clubs. But for whatever sort of rules that came in place where you can't do that anymore, you know, and stuff like that, that hasn't helped them, because that was income that, regardless of ticket prices, regardless of how your club are doing, that was guaranteed income that would keep them afloat for the next year. But because that's not allowed to be in place anymore, now they have to come up with ingenious ways to try and boost that revenue. So, you know, we can sit here and blame the Premier League clubs for it, but it's not. It's the fit and proper persons test, and it's some of the rules that they've put in place that now Premier League clubs don't have some of them affiliations with other clubs, which now means they don't have that £1 million a year, which would have kept them afloat year in, year out. Now they have to find other ways of doing it. So it's the EFL and the Premier League, more so the EFL, they just need to bang their heads together and just get some competency in there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, let us not forget, not many years ago, we were in that similar position ourselves as a club, where we were nearly going out of business. And as a 12, 13-year-old Dermatron, going to bed at night crying, thinking, will I have a football club in the morning to support? I know what it's like to really struggle and think, shit. And that was when
the whole thing, though, is, Dermo, they haven't been failed by Premier League clubs or the Premier League clubs not putting money down. They've been failed by the EFL.
Yeah. And we were failed by an owner that went to buy everything else outside of football, and we end up getting £8 million in debt. With £8 million now is just like that to some clubs now. Imagine 8 million and you're going out of business, a first division club, and it's just. You are right, Dave, and Jack. You and Jack have actually hit on a lot of nails on the head. This is only the tip of the iceberg with this subject. And look, it was only because I heard it on TalkSport. I knew these lads were coming on tonight, and I knew it was the right time to bring it up, because I'm Mia as well. I would get a proper balanced discussion about it. And look, if all football fans were like us and the people that come into our channels, I think football would be in a far better place than what it is at the moment. Because football at the moment for me seems to be football for the rich. The poor people, the working class people, are not involved in football anymore. You've got people sitting in eating prawn sandwiches in their champagne at halftime, not out in the terraces eating your pork pie or your steak and kidney pie and your cup of Bovril when Philip Brady went to matches. When I went to matches, it was a bacon sarnie and a can of Coke and a £5 to get in. It was great, and they put you at the front. Had the fences, put you at the front there, and you would see the people every week there, and there was something different on the terraces. Dave, you remember going as a young lad with your own man, and probably you as well, Mia. It was a different atmosphere back then, and it's people like Jack. I wish you felt that atmosphere back then, because I feel you've missed something. Do you feel it's changed since the Premier League came in, Dave, from what it was like football that we knew growing up as young kids, especially me being 40, remembering the 80s, Mia as well, the middle 80s, to the Premier League? Did you see it changing? Do you know what I mean? It changed a bit, didn't it? And then it's sort of gone into this.
I think it's a different game now. I think the physicality, a lot of the physicality and, crunching challenges and stuff that used to get crowd, you get the crowd going and stuff like that. Even if you were playing shit, you can go and smash someone, turn around, get everyone else up around and stuff. You can't do that anymore. No. So that sort of takes away from the game. Then you've got VAR now. You can't even celebrate a goal because you don't know whether it's going to be a goal or not. So, there are some stuff, with rule changes and stuff like that are just naturally killing the passion in the stands, killing the passion in the fans. And look, that's because some of the rule changes, that's why I would like some of them maybe looked at. But we also have to understand, right? Money back then to money now, it's completely different. There's a different value on it altogether. And as much as, I would like to see, more fans in the stands, more vocal, more passionate. It's a different world now. And, you know, with the way football is now, you have to accept, you know, you need them people. You need people that eat the prawn sandwich. Much people give out about them. You need them with the money that's in football. I just think that football could do more to keep it for everybody, right? For instance, like they could cap ticket prices and stuff like that. And, you know, they can come up with, generate other sort of revenue streams, a bit like what Tottenham Hotspur have done to sort of, you know, alleviate that. There is more they could do to keep some of the working class people in football and stuff like that as well. But look, Dermot, the game has changed, but I think, you know, that a lot of that is down to the rule changes and stuff like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you, lads, some stories going as a kid to watching Tottenham reserves. Right, we were playing Arsenal, North London, little North London derby in St Albans, where I grew up, and that St Albans ground was in the middle of a park, trees everywhere, one little stand, a Portaloo for a loo in the corner. Right, one fella with a little stand selling these burgers, another fella selling old programs. I used to collect football programs back in the day. I used to go back to the 1950s. I had a box full of them. And I shouted out something Arsenal playing with something anti-Arsenal anyway. My dad didn't give me a bollocking. He said, "You're going to start it was around the time of the football hooliganism was quite high. You're going to start a riot here." I looked round. There was only about 4 people manning these dog watching. I said, "Who's going to start me? The dog?" I mean, it was football. We're seeing players like that was football for me back in the 80s as a kid. It was all fun. It wasn't so money orientated. It was all about the love of the game. You had Saints and Greavesy in the morning. You would go to the match with your dad, and it was all fun. It was all just a laugh, and you meet your mates in the pub, and it was just, I don't know. I prefer it.
You didn't have all the technology back then as well, Dormy. You didn't have people, you know, phones to strike them and all that sort of stuff. You had to engage, right? You know, so it's, you know, a bit different there as well.
It is. I just want to welcome a few chats in. Philip Brady's watching, so everyone behave. Behave, Mia. All right, he's watching you. The Godfather. Yeah, Mia will dock the boat in the right place, Philip, this time, right? She's driving the boat. All right, so don't worry. Carl's not. Mia, do you want to say something about that? Do you know? You're on the boat.
I'll be driving it. It's now in safe hands. Don't worry. Your delivery will be with you ASAP, and it will be very powdery and looking good.
Oh dear. I don't know if we're going to have the guards raid me in a minute or not.
We're going to see it being pulled away from the street. Not like in a comedy, one of those comedies, you see the police running around. They're going to just see Dermot running around, like getting chased around.
I'd stick my head around the corner. Dave, can you just take over for a minute? We'll be back. Big up, Philip. I hope. And listen, come back soon. You're missed. You really are missed. Boris Britt says, like my local club was a Prem side and now a Championship side, and the old ownership was taken out. So many loans, the club ended up getting transfer banned until debts were paid off and taken over. There's another thing as well, Dave. I think you're right on that, Dave, what you're saying. Carl Higgins, definitely. We've got Daniel Field, big up. He says, hi, Dermot and Co. Football aside, pissed off about the sycamore tree being cut down by some bell end. Well, don't worry. We'll send Mia after that bell, and she'll put him in her dungeon, and then Romero can whack him a few times, getting ready for the Liverpool game for Moaning Klopp. His cousin was called Moaning Martel in the Harry Potter films, so Moaning Klopp will be darting around Hogwarts. But like 10 million back in 2000 to 2014 in football was a huge sum to buy a single player. It was. Daniela says, I'm loving the stream. Big up, Daniela. Thank you very much. You're very kind. And Wilton McDonald, Dermot, I remember getting to White Hart Lane station from SL, running through the flats, making a beeline for the boys' entrance at White Hart Lane to see Big Pat Jennings making his debut. Magic. Wow. What year was that, Wilton? That must have been back in, 65, 66? I met him once, Pat Jennings. His hands, guys, I tell you one thing, they're bloody massive. They are as big as shovels. And Carl Higgins says, I loved St. Greavesy. Do you remember St. Greavesy, do you, Mia, back in the day? Oh, no, you need to watch it. But St. Greavesy was part of my childhood. Every Saturday lunchtime, it was St. Greavesy. For me, it was brilliant. Right, we're going on to VAR and refs very quickly. I'll start with you, Mia, then I'll go to you, Jack. Mia, look, Philip asked a few weeks ago, has the standard of refereeing dropped? But is VAR more of a hindrance to referees than a help?
Yeah, because I feel like they interfere when they don't need to, and then they don't come in when they're supposed to, when it's clear and obvious. I feel like that this whole clear and obvious thing got thrown out the window, and they just pick and choose when they come in. And it isn't just decisions that we get. Look at the Man United one. He literally did a WWE clothesline on him, the keeper, the Man United keeper, on a Wolves player. Didn't get looked at. It's like, no, not going to bother to look at that. Or they looked at it, they dismissed it. Like, it's just not consistent. They're just not consistent with it. And that's the biggest problem with the VAR and the refs, because it's not that consistency. I understand that some things are going to be subjective. I feel like we can't take it back now because we've got it. But what the ref says, for me, if it takes longer than 90 seconds to decide if what that decision is, that means it's not clear and it's not obvious. You go with whatever the ref said. That's the easiest way to do it, surely, because then you know that it's not clear and obvious. Because if you have to look at it for 5 minutes, surely that's not clear and obvious, guys. That's ridiculous. So I think there should be a 90-second rule. Whether we're not going to get rid of VAR now, but we'll put that 90 seconds in. That's all you got. Decide. Tick, 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 tock. That's it.
What I love about American football and rugby, Jack, and the stuff, you can hear the decision being made, especially in rugby with TMO. You can hear the discussion between the referee and the man behind the screen, and he's saying, did his knee, did the ball go over the line? Well, let's look at it this angle, but it's done very quickly. The same as American football. The ref talks through the mic. This is the decision. Foul, 10 yards left. Do you feel, because we're not hearing the discussion, it's making it more difficult for us to understand the decisions for the people in the stands? But when we see it on the TV, we know it's a wrong decision. Are you more frustrated because you can't hear the discussion happening between the referee and the VAR man? Why they come up with that the decision in the first place?
I think they are just too afraid to release that sort of kind of thing, like on a consistent basis, because I think they know that they would get caught in loops and they would get caught to be sort of hypocrites of previous decisions they've made, where you would hear the referee saying one thing and then you could probably hear the same referee on the same VAR thing a year later saying the opposite. And then I think they would just know that they would get caught in kind of their own sort of twisted game here. But I feel like VAR has made their job a whole lot harder. I sympathize with that because I think it is kind of complicated technology to use. And I think if maybe thrown in front of these guys and they're being sort of instructed on how to use it and everything, they are going to make mistakes in using it. But I feel like they've had now long enough to try to figure it out, and they've had long enough to try to get the most out of it. And clearly they still can't really, to a degree that I feel like I'm not satisfied with. I feel like I understand the statistics that suggest that maybe they've been very accurate with it. I feel like they've had so many calls, though, that people as a football fan would mention that are just so clear and obvious to any football fan that those are, decisions that should go the other way. I think we're like 3 or 4 years now, like down the VAR road. It just feels like they had enough time to try to get it right. They haven't gotten it right. I think it should go back to actually human error. And if we're not going to do it, then maybe we should consider maybe actually, outsourcing referees to maybe different leagues or whatever. Like, I actually even think the best referee in the world is that random Polish guy. He's that super jacked, bald guy who refed the World Cup final. I've seen him ref. I've never seen him ref a game poorly. He really is actually probably the best in the world, I think, at the moment. And that's just kind of funny, right? I don't know where he refs at the moment, but if he's just reffing the Polish league, on his time, and then just doing Champions League games as well, I think that's kind of funny. I think it'd be nice to have him come into the Premier League. And surely enough, a lot of these guys could be able to learn good enough English to be able to communicate with each other and etc. I don't know. I think there should be maybe more outsourcing. There's also, as we know, maybe not enough diversity as well within the referees. Like, most of them are all 68 years old, bald and white, and it'd be nice to maybe see a bit more kind of diversity, I think, amongst the referees, either either on an international case or just even amongst age. Like, why aren't there referees
and
that are
also,
younger than
wouldn't it
40
be
years
great?
old?
Wouldn't it be great to have in the VAR a couple of ladies in the VAR to sort of to
Why
do it
not?
as
I
well?
would appreciate
Why
it too.
not?
I think
It seems like they all look the same, and they all seem to be from the same background and the same sort of everything. That's also part of the reason why they're making mistakes, because they all look the same and they're all from the same background. So they're going to develop this sort of bubble theory, you know.
Now, since this come out, the VAR, how many times have they apologized? How many times have they said, literally, we have got it wrong? That shouldn't be acceptable. This shouldn't keep happening where they have to come out and apologize for a blatant decision. Like, it's crazy. What are they watching on the VAR monitors? Do you know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous.
Probably something they shouldn't be watching. Dave, look, Wolves, the beginning of the season, lost against Man United. That 3 points could get them relegated. How many games did we last season, apart from Eric Dyer and Sanchez cocking up and Luis cocking up, cost us Europe? This, for me, I heard this morning, and I knew this was the question for you. You've been sitting there quite patiently. I can see smoke coming out of your ears at the moment, so I'm going to let you blow. It says, Simon Jordan was said this morning, we need to pay these refs more to fight off the Saudi influence. Why are we trying to keep these clowns? Should we just send them to Saudi for free?
It's a good comment.
It's a very good comment, actually.
Look, I'll be honest, I'm sick of it. First of all, you got someone like Simon Jordan trying to preach to people what sort of language someone else should use. I'm sorry, but Simon should know where he's from, where Jermaine Jean is from, or where I'm from. Everyone speaks different. So bloody tolerate it. So first of all, if Jermaine Genius wants to call the referee a shithouse because he's not making the right decisions and was biased against us in that game, he's well within his right to call him a shithouse. No problem at all. So just because Simon Jordan doesn't like the terminology, fine. I don't care. But he has to understand other people out there speak a bit different, and not everyone is as intelligent as him and can portray the vocabulary as well as him. That really fucked me off. But when it comes to these referees, I'm absolutely sick of it. And there's three things that's wrong with it, right? First of all is the rules. The rules, they're so complicated nowadays. There's so many mitigating circumstances towards every single decision. It's impossible for anyone not to know clearly what the rule is. So when there's no binary sort of decision and everything's very complicated, it leaves it open to people's interpretation of the rules, interpretation of the wording. Then you bring in VAR. VAR was brought in here to be consistent right across the board, and we wouldn't have to sit here every weekend talking about the referees and the big decisions, because that's all everyone talks about now. No one talks about how good the football is. No one talks about, other things that's gone on in the game. Everything is about the decisions at the weekend. You've got referees being rolled out like superstars now on Sky Sports and BT Sports, this, that, and the other. And I'm absolutely fed up with it. The technology was brought in to make it precise. But when the rules are so complicated and the technology is not definitive, it's still left up to human interpretation again. So if it's left up to human interpretation, then what's the need for the technology? There is none.
No.
But football will never backtrack because the millions and billions of pounds that they've pumped into it and the amount of other people in and around the game that's why they keep persisting with it. They won't just pull it. They never will. And it's an absolute joke in my book. But when you look at some of the referees as well, right? They all club together. Go and listen to some of the referees that have done podcasts lately that have come out and spoke about it. They're biased. They have certain biases towards certain managers, certain clubs. They'll openly admit that. And then also you've got the thing where they protect each other. So with the technology, you've got some referees going out there not saying, like, for instance, that Romero hair pull, I know landed on our side. But the referee didn't give it because the referee already had a tough game that that game. But all he ended up doing was making more questions around that referee. So you got people trying to cover each other's holes. But then you've also got referees out there that won't make decisions because they're just going to fail safe on the technology. So the technology isn't actually doing anything. It's worthless. And all it's doing is killing the passion in the stands, slowing down the game, and it's just absolutely pointless in my opinion. I spoke about this for so long, and many people say, Dave, you're an idiot, shut up. Well, people are just getting fed up with it now. People have had enough. And for me, if it's absolutely worthless and you're still leaving it up to human decision, leave it up to the man in the middle. It's one thing that did not need to be changed.
I mean, look, you look at the game on Sunday, the penalty against us, that was not a penalty. I am sorry. That was not a penalty. Romero was falling back. Where was he supposed to put his hand? On the ground. And the ball, there was a player behind him. So if it did go past Romero, the player behind him would have got rid of it. You look at the Arsenal-Manchester United game, penalty. I think that was given when it wasn't a penalty at all. So there's inconsistencies through from the start of VAR to now. You look at GAA, we only use it for Hawkeye. The referee's decision is the final decision. American football, rugby, other sports, it's the final decision. Who's ever in the middle, it's their decision.
The rules are clear though, Dermo, as well.
Yeah, the rules are too complicated. How many times have we changed the offside rule over the last 5-10 years? How many times has it been changed? How many times has a handball been changed?
Yeah.
How many times? It's just...
I specifically remember once when we got a penalty against us, they changed the rule the very next day. Unbelievable. They can't. If they change it in the middle of a season and it's at the detriment of a team, it's crazy. That's a crazy thing to do.
This is the problem, though, me and Dermot and Jack, right? They're changing the rules to suit the VAR system, which should never, ever be the case. No. They're even now telling players that you have to walk around like you're in prison cuffs all game. It's absolutely killing it. It's actually dictating the game, and they're dictating the rules towards the VAR because they don't want to backtrack and say, look, we've pumped money into it, it doesn't work, and we've lost this amount of millions. They don't want to do that. And the problem is the rules are being suited towards VAR than the game. And that's the big problem.
For me, VAR does not work. It's never worked, it won't work, and it never will work because it's not suited to our sport. Our sport's too quick. It's like putting VAR into Formula One. It wouldn't work. But it will work in tennis. It could work in other sports where it's a bit slower. Rugby, for example, isn't a quick sport. But VAR works in there because you've got the time. It's just, for me, it's ridiculous.
But that's the reason, Dermot, I said that we should have a time limit. And if the VAR can't find anything on it, they should say the referee's decision is final. I'm saying? That will stop it.
When you see the referee going to the screen, you know deep down that's going to be a penalty or that's going to be a sending off. Because the referee's been told in his ear, Jack, look, you got to send that player off. I'd love to know the conversation. He's probably say, look, you got that wrong, mate. Don't worry, I'll buy you a beer afterwards. And we'll
That's
go
a lot of nonsense. That's just to buy them time to come to the correct decision to make it look like they're actually doing something. That's all that
is. It's ridiculous. And Joe, the rule, the actual handball rule, is if it's done on purpose. Romero was falling and moving his arm away. How does that apply to the rules? Even if you read the rules, they're not even applying the letter of the law of the bloody rules correctly. But in VAR, the ref didn't give it initially. So why, if they looked at it and they couldn't see anything wrong for the first 90 seconds, they should go with what the referee said. I'm not just saying because it's our decision, but in everything, because it's so frustrating.
See, this is the problem here as well. Like, the handball rule used to be if it's deliberate, it's handball, right? Whereas now you've got to check how close the player is. Has it took a deflection? Has it done this? So there's that many rules that one or two of them are bound to be missed. And then because you've got so many people with so much time on their hands after game, they'll pick up every rule and go, well, you've missed this one. The referee's like, well, I'm have to remember 11 out of 12. Give me a break here,
Please, if you are enjoying this podcast, please get over and hit the like button and subscription button also on our one. Also, please hit the like button and subscription button on the Irish Hotspur and also the Spurs Between the Lines as well. Also, our partner channel, Full Time Sports Network, where this is being broadcast. Please hit the like button there. If you want to get a super chat in, ask the boys a question. Please do, and also pick up your memberships, $2.99, $4.99, cheaper than Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Netflix, whatever. You don't need them. Just
Okay,
get yourself a Chromecast, download Movie Box Pro, and just the money you saved, get a membership, and do it the same with the other channels as well. You get more content, you get more. I tell you what, you get a full night's worth of content. Your missus will be happy because you get a bit of EastEnders on Coronation Street with Dave, a little bit of Emmerdale Farm with Jack, and with Mia. Mia just kept saying, "Get out of my pub." But you get more money for your buck with us than you would.
Can
for
I
them.
just say,
Yeah.
I'm actually very offended because you said get your question in for the boys. I've been called a lad, but now I'm being called a boy. I'm actually quite offended. I can categorically state to everybody I am not a boy.
No,
and nor do I choose to be one.
No, you're a
I'm
lady.
A girl.
You're a lady. Sorry,
you.
Mia. See, I get a bollocked. See,
You
Mia?
get
And damn
cancelled
right
from
you
now.
should.
I'm getting a handbag round my head. I'm gonna say big up to the Lucky Irishies in Luxembourg. Big up. I love the YouTube thing as well, and also Colum as well, who was helping today. Big up Colum as well. Wilton saying
He's saying get rid of VR. United have benefited from it massively over the years.
Yeah, they have actually. Keep on talking, Dave. Absolute correct. Daniel Phil is Boris Britt says the fact that Simon Jordan is saying refs need to earn more money, even more than they earn, up to £1,500 for a single match, like tells me why they need to earn any more than that for an hour of terrible work. We've got Daniel Field, caption Grandma agree it ruined the day, that news. You question the motive for such unnecessary act of a beautiful landmark that stands right in the middle of the mounds, right next to Hadrian's Wall, apparently. Keith Edwards says it did work in the World Cup. How come? Because they're all bribed. They would. I swear to God, that World Cup was Argentina won that World Cup thanks to FIFA. That's all I'm saying. I'm not jealous that Ireland didn't get there, but I'm just saying, you know.
See, the World Cup as well, though, you've got.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Mia.
Yeah, it's not everyone else's fault that Ireland isn't good enough. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I blame FIFA for that.
players.
I blame FIFA. That's FIFA's fault that they give us a horrible group.
Also, at the World Cup, you have to remember you've got the best referee from every country, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, when you're looking at the Premier League, so you've got one referee that you send to represent the country. Referee and the rest are miles below that standard. So, you know, that's why as well.
Joe, what I will say is that the Women's World Cup and Europe, I thought they refereed it actually really well. The women's game, the women refs.
I agree with I agree with everyone. Bring it back to, and Keith Edwards, a VAR rule got to be clear. Mia is right, and I agree with that rule, Mia. I think that's a great idea.
Great rule.
Really, really is. Well,
I need to go and have a word now with them to sort it out.
I think we sort of got our refs too protected or not protected because of the Jermaine Genius thing. That's all right, Jack. It's fine. It's okay. You can keep it on. It's fine. It brings a bit of rustic nature of New York to the stream. So, yeah, that's fine.
I do think referees are protected, though, because if footballers make a mistake, they're absolutely ridiculed. You know, a referee makes a mistake, everyone goes, oh, you can't speak about them, this, that, and the other. I'm fed up with it. They earn six-figure salaries out of what they do every single year. So they're the ones in the middle making, blowing the whistles and stuff like that. So if they're being paid a decent salary, I expect that I should be able to hold them to a decent standard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Joe, what I would say is that to obviously abuse them is not acceptable ever, but the fact is all Jermaine Genius did was criticise him a little bit. I don't know what everyone, he called him a shithouse, like he didn't call him an a-hole or a see you next Tuesday. Like, I'm sorry, but it's not exactly abusive. Like, it's not abusive to say what he said. I don't understand. Like, if sticks and stones break your bones, man, you need to get a new job, because being a referee isn't for you if you're going to be like a snowflake and melt when someone calls you a shithouse.
Yeah, you leave snowflakes out of it, Mia. I know where you're going with that.
Not at all. I genuinely mean people who are snowflakes.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know. I'll send you some over there. Right. Okay. You look at I forgot what I was going to say now. Totally gone.
Oh, yeah, well.
We're derailing the show.
Don't take a lot.
Yeah.
Don't take a lot, does it?
No, obviously. Jermaine Genius had his Spurs hat on. That's why he called the referee that, because he is an ex-Spurs player. So he had his Tottenham hat on. Now, North London derby, guys. We're all happy Spurs fans. We battered them. We give Tinky Winky a Lego man a wedgie. We ran off with his lunch money. He was sick, crying. Jack went over to him, there. Dave gave him another wedgie. And Mir just ran off with his lunch. Look,
I'd kick him where it hurts first and then
for
run off
me,
with his lunch.
I was so proud of the team. I thought it was a great performance. Never say die. Never give up. If that was under Mourinho, the Garden Gnome, Conte, even Poch, I think we would have folded. Jack, how proud of you were you of that Tottenham team on Sunday? Especially with all the things going against us. Destiny getting the yellow card early in the game. Do you know the way Sonny came back? How proud of you were being a Tottenham fan Sunday evening after that match?
Very proud. I wish it didn't rain so much that I could have been wearing my Spurs gear, even more, about sort of the streets. I feel like I've said a lot on the North London Derby. I think what I would sort of take most from it was I was most pleased with a lot of players that I don't really think are maybe the main men or maybe the main faces of the team that I actually thought played well from minute 1 through minute 90. I think Vicario had a terrific performance. I think Pedro Porro had a great performance.
Yeah.
I think Pop Matassar had a great performance. And I think Kulusevski really had a great performance on the day. And Mickey van de Ven. All those guys that I just mentioned, I think we all love and we all have a real, soft spot for because they're kind of regulars in the starting 11. But I don't think they're really the main kind of faces of the team or kind of the people that are most thought of when you look at that Spurs starting 11. And I actually thought they were the best players on the pitch that day. They showed the most sort of nerve. They showed the best sort of mental fortitude during kind of the tough parts and through the good parts, right? They helped us in their good parts, and they also kind of kept, I think, their best quality and kept their performance at a high level, even when others were sort of dropping a little bit during those sort of waves and during those periods. And I just think from the North London Derby, it was just impressive to see so many new faces, so many kind of newcomers to it, as well as just kind of, new personalities to that starting 11 and to this team in general carry us through North London Derby. It wasn't the usual names. It was, Sonny, of course, carried us, but I do think other players that we're not used to talking about, and maybe that's because they're new to the team or maybe because they're just not the biggest players in the team, we were, maybe the most proud of, and probably the ones that I think really stood out on the day. I think what's even more funny is Kulusevski is somebody who's had a bit of pressure on him recently from Spurs fans. That was by far, I think, his best performance on the season. I think he was, and that shows a lot too.
Yeah. Now, Dave, I'm sorry about this question in advance. So we are going to go there. We can't call him by his name. So me and Mia call him Parry Payne because we don't mention him anymore. That was Mia's idea, not me. I thought it was very funny when she sent me that the other night, actually. But look, Sonny has scored 5 goals in 7 games, right? He's rarely stepped up to the mark as a striker. Do we really need that striker when Sonny's when Sonny's up there doing the business with a Maddison, with a Kulu, with a Brendan Johnson, with a Solomon? Do we really? Are we not really missing Harry that much?
Not at the minute. No, not at the minute. But look, do we need another striker at the football club? I think you will. Look, you're going to have to invest, or at least bring one of the youth players through and let him sort of bide his time with experiencing around the first team, because Son's 31, 32. He ain't going to keep doing that when he's 33, 34. So 2 years down the line, you are going to need someone that's going to bang you in them goals regularly. And unfortunately, I just don't think Richarlison is that man. He's missing way too many components to his game to make him that man, in my opinion. Whereas with Son, you put him through, he's absolutely clinical. And bringing in Maddison to strike up that partnership, he's picking up what Harry Kane sort of was doing with Son. And the way they've struck up that partnership has obviously benefited Tottenham. But for me, it's not. I've always argued that we've always scored goals at Tottenham. The biggest thing for me is what I've always argued with a lot of people is that backline. Vicario, new goalkeeper, Eric Dyer out the team, Van de Ven in there, Ben Davies nowhere near at left back. You've now got Destiny Udogie in there. That's the difference maker. That's what's getting us over the line. That's where we're getting the results from. We've always scored goals at Tottenham. We've always had creative players ever since I've been a fan. Growing up, we had David Ginola, players like that. You want me to move on? We've had Modric, Bale, all them sort of people. We've always had players that can produce. but it's the back line that is what is getting us the results, because teams are not getting in at our goal as frequently as they were last season. And that's, for me, is where a lot of these results are coming from. I've always said to people, you keep clean sheets, you limit the chances, Tottenham will go on and get you more points.
We have got the young 18-year-old, the Argentinian whiz kid, who's supposed to be the best thing since Messi and Maradona.
He's a big boy.
Seriously, he is, Jack. I've actually read that somewhere. Some Argentinian, I don't know who told him. No, apparently he is. Apparently he is. You wait and see.
Did you watch him for the under-21s?
I did, yeah.
He's nowhere, but then you know his game is not like Messi or Maradona's.
I know. I was just saying it more. But I'm saying what the Argentinian fella was going for. I didn't really want to bring up that game. I was thinking, you hope you might have missed it, but you didn't watch along. I thought, damn, wish I never said that now. Jack's sitting there. Reel him in, Dave. Reel him in. Mia, look, you were the first ones to say to me the argument of we don't need a striker. We've got plenty of players around that can score goals. And I sort of come to that argument now, sort of agreeing to that argument. Dave's on the other side now, lad. We're going to need a striker, which we probably will. But we've got the likes of Dane Scarlett. We've got the likes of some of the under-21 players out on loan. Troy Parrott, I think his time's come and gone. I think he will be so. And I think it's a shame because Troy Parrott had the potential to do well and he hasn't.
Injuries killed him.
Yeah. Dean Scarlett now's the next one now. Who do you see leading the line, say, in a couple of years' time, Mia? Or do you think we have to go out and buy this 30, 40, 50 million pound striker?
Good question. Yeah.
I could actually see us sticking with a Dane Scarlett, Alejo Velez, and buying somebody, to be honest with you. I think that's probably the way that Ange will want it. I think Ange likes those young players. So I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Alejo Velez a bit more towards the end part of the season, the latter part, maybe when he's settled in a little bit more. He will, I think, try to get him some minutes because I think he sees the youngsters as the future, because he does like to do that, and we do need. I think we need to make sure we don't overspend in January for a striker, because I know a lot of people are saying about Tony. Not so keen on that guy after he said he likes Arsenal. I'm not so sure about him. So for me, we've got to, I feel, actually more importantly, I'm with Dave. I feel that actually in January, it's probably more important to stabilise our backline and make sure that we get rid of Dyer and get someone else in. So that way we have got somebody maybe a little bit older than Phillips who can sit on the bench and come in if there is an injury, because I feel that's probably a little bit more important, because our attack, we can jiggle it around and have enough attack power, where I feel like defensively, if we lose one of them, we're in more trouble.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
I agree with you, Mia, because I think our defence is very substantial. If we do lose a Romero or a Van de Ven, who we're falling back on, Ashley Phillips, who is a great potential, or an Eric Dyer, who could fuck up everyone's day and just send them everyone miserable again. So I'd rather have Ashley Phillips than that donut coming onto the pitch. Dave's favourite player, by the way.
The thing is about Ashley Phillips is maybe, I know he's very good, Dave, I'm not trying to criticise him at all, but maybe you need somebody who has a little bit more, maybe like a lower Premier League player that we know can come in and do a job.
I always go on, Jack. Sorry.
I was going to say, with what Dave said earlier, though, and maybe to your original question, Dermot, I think we would be better off this January just investing in that sort of backup center back for either Van de Ven, because I think we might have one probably available in the case of Romero with maybe an Ashley Phillips. I think we're just going to have to trust him that he could stand in for Romero, or maybe a Dorrington could, but we are going to need somebody else as well that is a bit more proven, that is a bit more experienced, and hopefully even in some degree, maybe some Premier League experience, I think would probably go a long way. Obviously, we didn't need that with Van de Ven, but you have to think about it because he's not going to get too much playing time. So you probably would rather that he have some Premier League experience. But I do think we're better off just keeping the back line away from the players that have caused us problems in the past, like the Ben Davies, like the Dyers of the world, etc. And so we just need to maybe try to, maybe instead of investing in a striker, while Richarlison might not be good for the future, we could probably get away with Sonny, Brennan Johnson, Richarlison as 3 options technically down the middle that we could choose from.
Yeah.
Sonny's obviously the best one. Johnson and Richarlison aren't going to be great for the long term, but they're probably going to be okay enough, I think, like for at least what we've been expecting this season. We're not expecting all that much. So I don't know, maybe we just be better off just investing in somebody that can prevent us from having to see Eric Dyer again, and also maybe even someone that can prevent us from seeing Ben Davies again, because I don't think he played all that well.
Well, sorry, Mia, just very quick. Sorry, Mia, you're going to say, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, and like I say as well, Jack, don't forget Alejo Velez might be, I know that he's not as, I know you're saying now he's still a bit raw, but don't forget he's only just come in, Dave, and I feel it's going to take him a little bit more time maybe to settle, but once he's settled, we have got also him as an option. So I feel like our striking options, we've got enough, I feel, until next summer. But defensively, we haven't. So I would much rather get rid of the defenders that we don't want and get another one.
I think we are looking in a way that if, look, we do get severe injuries, right? We are looking, we are stacked in the under-21s of good centre-backs, of good wingers and forward players if we have to rely on them. It's not like you're just pulling up a Joe Soap who has nothing about them. You know, we are lucky to that degree. But I do agree with you. I think the plan is they go into January, they'll probably buy a more established centre-back. But then after that, I don't think you'll see the club buy any more centre-backs, because when you look at a lot of the contracts that's up over the next 2 years, a lot of it is our homegrown quota. And the club and the premiums on homegrown players is only going up and up and up. And we know Daniel Levy ain't going to pay £100 million for a homegrown player. And there's only so many Brennan Johnsons you can buy at a reasonable price as well.
Yeah.
So the club will have to look to produce and develop these players. But these players are more for next season. When we have Europe, you've got the League Cup, Premier League, FA Cup, Europe. There will be games there for them. And that's when I think you'll see more of these guys sort of come true. But the long-term future and planning at the club is to bring these guys through so that they don't have to keep paying the homegrown quota. And I would say, and I will say this to people, we shouldn't be afraid of the age. We have actively lowered the age of Tottenham's first team, and a lot of the players we have now are better than a lot of the old established guys that were playing there. So we shouldn't be afraid to bring up some of these youngsters and give them that opportunity, because when you lower the average age of the team and we're putting in better performances and they're better quality of player than older guys, that takes out the age and the experience argument. Then it just comes down to talent. So for me, if they're talented enough, you've got to give them that platform.
I think, look, Paratici, fair play to him. Most of the team that half the team starting to say it was bought by Paratici. We had some involvement in them. I think Tottenham are looking in the right way now. I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah,
I think
finally.
Levy's listening. And I think whatever Scott Munn now does now with sacking of the chief scout who got sacked, I don't know what was behind that, but if that's what Postecoglou wanted, and if there's a way forward that with Paratici, he says this is what we need to do.
We can't dress every decision up as what Postecoglou wanted, because I see this a lot around the club. You know, even over the summer transfer window, this, that, and the other. We're very quick to pass it off. Well, if Postecoglou wants this, why would Postecoglou want Gabonini to go when he was instrumental in working with him with the signings we brought in this summer?
Well, we
can't sit here and just pass everything off as Postecoglou wants. It's not Postecoglou's decision.
The point I'm making, Dave, is look, would transfer-wise, if Postecoglou wants a player, I'm happy with that. The point I'm making with Levy sacking the chief scout or whatever, or Scott Munn doing it, maybe he wants to go in a different direction. That's fine, but let us know what direction we're going in. Keep us informed. And that's something I've got out the fans forum. It's something I've got out with the interviews that Levy's done recently. We've learned more about Levy and about our club in the last month and a half than we've done in the last 22 years. The mistakes of picking Conte and Mourinho, the reasons why they picked a Conte and a Mourinho. Do you know? And now picking Postecoglou and trying to go back to their DNA, which we've now got. We've got a team playing the Tottenham way. You and Jack doing your watch-alongs. You look excited. You look happy. You look happy to be there. Me and Dave. Yeah, me and Philip are. Where last season, even Mia, it was hard work. You went to
Let's
a
be
game.
honest, none of us wanted to watch the games. We just did because we love the football club, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I think Levy's learned. I think he has learned. And look, I'm no Levy in it, or I'm no Levy outer. I'm Levy down the middle.
Fence
But-
sitter. Levy fence sitter.
Yeah, and my ass is getting a bit prickly with the fence, but I don't care. I put a bit of soda cream on it and I'm fine, and I'll sit back on it again. But we will criticise him if he needs criticising. We will praise him if he needs praising. He's done a great job this transfer window, gotten good players and gotten a great manager. And long may it continue. Long may it continue. Postecoglou, we love you. You're my Keith Birkinshaw. Always said the team gives up this 80s vibe. It really, really does. Just a one-worded answer on this one, and then we've got just the transfer link with Højbjerg with Juventus, Jack. I picked that one just for you. You and me being our favourite player. I just wanted your quick thoughts on that. And
Dermo, you switch on Højbjerg every week.
No,
You do?
I would criticise Højbjerg, right, when he plays bad, but Højbjerg is my favourite player.
What do you mean criticise him when he's bad? That means you've got to criticise him every game pretty much, because he does one good thing about 10 bad things.
Look, he's better than Eric Dyer and Davis and all them.
Yeah, but that's just because one thing's bad, it doesn't make it okay for another thing to be bad.
Yeah,
that's
but
such a
Mia,
silly logic.
we don't have a Romero in our dungeon. Okay, we're not all haven't got the luxuries of a Romero.
He definitely is a luxury for sure.
We have Højbjerg in our dungeon, and he's quite happy down there playing with his Monopoly.
It's after 10 o'clock, so I can go. I can go whatever which way you want me about this Romero dungeon thing.
Is that when you start playing Twister? Then is that when you start doing at 10 o'clock? You play Twister with them, right? Okay. On that point, we'll move on quickly. One worded answers, and I'll start with you, Mia, and then we'll go around the table. I'll go last. Which player impressed you the most on Sunday? Sort of the player and why?
Van der Ven, I thought he showed real maturity in such a big pressured game, and I think he took it on his shoulders, and I think he performed excellently, and I think he was perfection for me.
Yeah. Jack, whose player impressed you the most on Sunday and why?
Kulusevski, I think there's pressure on him to start kind of performing a bit better. He pretty much pressed his lungs out. I never saw him stop running, never stopped trying to close things down. I thought he was probably maybe the most creative player on the pitch as well. For the most part, he was able to create a lot of chances for us and cause Zinchenko a lot of problems. Was one of those games where he didn't end up scoring or anything, but he probably deserved to maybe get a goal or just, deserve maybe some of the most plaudits, at least in my opinion. So Kulusevski.
Yeah. Dave, which player impressed you the most on Sunday and why?
Papa Sarr for me.
Yeah.
I think it was the best midfielder in the second half or in the first half. And I think, he just had a fantastic game. I think a lot of the work that he done went unnoticed. I remember sitting there at half-time of the game and I was going mad at Basuma Madison. I thought they needed to wake up because they were getting caught in possession too easy at times. And I started praising Basuma. Many people were like, "Dave, what are you talking about?" I'm like, go back and look at the game. Look at the amount of ball he disrupts. Look at the positions he's picking up there, for people to be able to pass to him. Look at some of the defensive work he's doing down that right-hand side. And it continued in the second half. And for me, I'm going to go at him because for such a young midfielder where no one talked about him in any of the pre-match, combined 11s, it was all Basuma, Madison, or Rice or that cheap cleaning product, Odegaard. It was all about them. No one mentioned Papa, Matt or Daddy. And for me, I thought he went out there and he was absolutely phenomenal on the day. And another reason why is because I predicted this kid would shine given the opportunity and he's not let me down. And do you know what? His two best performances have been Tottenham's two biggest games. Yeah. Arsenal away, Man United at home.
Yeah.
Is Odegaard a bit like Silip Bang? One brain is gone because he was disappeared
that's it.
in that game.
Look, it got
booked here, and that's another thing, right? Papa Sarr and Adoji, two young kids got booked, went on and flourished. Odegaard got booked. You couldn't find him. It was like where's Wally?
No, somebody I was on the Arsenal channel on Sunday doing the watch along. I gave as good as I got, by the way, guys. Don't worry.
Good.
I even got quoted saying, I said 1 minute, Tottenham are playing champagne football, really getting excited. And they went, oh, they've lost it. Now, it has been clipped somewhere. If I can get it, I'll send it. It was the most funniest bit of YouTube. It was just me, Dave and Jack. You know me. I'll come out with anything.
Yeah.
I was asked if I could pick one Arsenal player and put them into this current Tottenham side, who would it be? Now, I do like Odegaard. I do think he is a good player. From a football fan, it's all right. You're shaking your head, Dave. If I took my football
wouldn't
fan,
do it.
no,
I wouldn't pick one.
no, Mia, and I'll tell you, it was a tough thing, Mia. If you could pick one Arsenal player and put it into Tottenham player side, who would it be?
Now, if I was going to be a fair person
Yeah.
and not think that I absolutely hate those idiots with every bit of me, I would say Saka, because I think he is a fantastic player. When he plays for England, he is such a brilliant player. And I think they probably played him a lot this season, and he's definitely not, he's not looking his best. But I think in a Tottenham team with an Ange, without a Lego head, doing all this at him, I think he'll be really good.
And also playing You Never Walk Alone. I bet at half time, I'd say it was looking for his Never Walk Alone album. Look, just put it on in the dressing room. Jack, if you could pick one.
I don't think I'd take any of them because they didn't beat us. So they didn't prove that they were better than us. So technically, and it was in their house as well.
Yeah.
And they've been together for longer than our Spurs players have.
That's not the question. Listen, don't make me look like a fool because I've answered and now you're not gonna, Jack.
That was your choice, Mia.
Don't start.
We should all just ganged up on Dermot there for that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, you should have done that.
I was being nice to Dermot. See what
I know
I'm
you
saying?
were. You're trying to guide the
Listen,
shit, Mia.
I went
understand,
away
but
on Sunday.
You should have just dumped Dermot out. We should have just, you hanged him.
I actually went away on Sunday and I put myself on the line for the Tottenham fans here. Do you know? It was good fun over there, actually. I just constantly
Did your Arsenal companion in the watch along force you to ask that question for this one?
It did.
Yeah.
He forced me and Philip to answer it, so I don't know what Philip said. I can't remember. I'm Declan Rice, traitor, useless footballer. Needs you can take that Grealish with him as well. He's useless as well, and I hope they retire from football in non-league football. That's all I'm going to say on Declan Rice. Now, my play, which impressed me the most on Sunday. Now, this is going to surprise a lot of you. I'm actually going for two because I'm allowed to because I'm the host. I'm going for Vicario in goal and also Romero. I know he had two slip-ups, but they didn't let it get to him. He didn't get sent off. He continued defending, and some of his defending was brilliant on Sunday. And whatever he couldn't do, Van de Ven took over. Whatever Van de Ven, they worked so well together. So Vicario for me. Philip calls him the new Pat Jennings. I totally agree with that. The amount of see that save he did in the first half.
Yeah, it was crack.
It was, and then the save then with his legs as well. He's going to be the best goalkeeper I think we've had since Pat Jennings. If he keeps going on to
can I ask another question off the back of that?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
Do we think Vicario is so good because we watched a Hugo Lloris in severe decline?
I think so. I would have to agree with that.
Do you know what? I would say yes, because obviously we saw a bit of Forster. We thought Forster was really good, didn't we? Because we were like, oh my God, it's just not Lloris. But I genuinely do think that I'm more confident, Dave, now than before. And I think it isn't just because we saw Lloris be so bad. I honestly think he is genuinely that next level up as a goalkeeper because he can play out with his feet and he's just a different gravy, isn't he, when he is playing as well with the ball at his feet. So, I feel like that it could be partly that, but I do sincerely think that he is a better level of goalkeeper.
I agree with you. I think he's streets ahead.
Yeah, I think he's a very confident young man. And what I liked about him on Sunday also, when Romero scored the own goal, he was the first one up to Romero, put his arm around him, whispering
how I would have
in his
loved to be that person to wrap my arms around Romero.
Do you know what?
That.
You talk about Romero and it just turns into this fantasy, whatever. And people listen to this podcast doing the shopping or in the gym or whatever. They're wondering, is this a Tottenham podcast or an adult only? podcast.
I
Who
mean,
knows?
if you want to make it into adult only, like I say, I can take this much further if you want. But I'm
No,
not
it's
going to.
okay. I would
I'm
like
gonna
to
behave.
keep my Spotify account open. You've only got me barred off Facebook already, so I would like to keep Facebook and YouTube going. Thank you. Maybe in the future when we're New Year's Eve, we'll do it New Year's Eve. There you go. No, for me, Vicario has the potential, I think, to become the greatest goalkeeper we've had in a while. Jack, do you want to answer Dave's question?
I love Big Vic. I think it's more that the goalkeeping position has changed, and this might be a controversial opinion, but I think it's been made a whole lot harder. I think there's a whole lot more that's now asked of goalkeepers than there used to be. Maybe goalkeepers did have to deal with different type of strikers and different types of players back then than maybe they do now. And I don't think like the quality in certain sort of outfield players has really dropped. Like look at, Glenn Hoddle, for example, all the way back then, he would dominate in today's game. But what is different now is keepers are being pressed all the way to them like for 90 minutes straight. So you are just being asked to play as if you're just a regular footballer, like in the rest of the team. You also now are being asked to make more one-on-one saves, I think, than you were in the past, right? With how high of the lines that, defenses are playing, you're then being asked to, make challenges outside of your penalty area. You have to be a sweeper keeper, but then also if you can't, if it's a good enough ball, you have to sort of take those positions where you're, closing down the angles well enough to make those one-on-one chances that look easy. A lot of keepers make them look a lot harder. I think Allison, who we're about to face, for example, is probably one of the best in the world actually at it. Like some of the times that you see him save, clear one-on-one chances, and he makes it look so much harder than it should be, is an example of why I think the position has changed in general. Also, even from crosses, it looks like goalkeepers aren't really being protected as much as they used to be. It feels like maybe more is kind of being kind of let go with how you can kind of get in their way and all these sort of things. And two, when you think about it, when teams are pressing each other from like one end to the other, goalkeepers are now like telling their center backs where to pass. They're telling their fullbacks where to go. They have to be involved in the play. They have to have some sort of intelligence of, how the build-up play is supposed to work. Even Vicario seems to be one of the best sort of proponents of what Ange is trying to do. When Udogie made a mistake, he's telling Udogie, no, that's exactly what you were supposed to do. Like keep doing that, all these sort of things. Like that's so much more than what goalkeepers used to have to do. And I feel like that's why Vicario looks so good. He looks like, to be honest, the goalkeeping position, they're now buying them for 60, 70, 80 million. And that's for a reason, because the position has changed that much. And there are so many keepers that can't fulfill all those things that I just listed. Vicario has somehow been able to do all those things that I just listed for less than 20 million. Right now, he looks like an 80 million pound goalkeeper. He really does.
I think we've got a couple of steals in this transfer
and he
window.
makes saves, by the way. For all those things I just mentioned, he also makes saves, and he also makes crack saves that actually keep us in games. He has the highest post-shot expected goals next to like the other keepers that are making terrific saves. Look at Areola for West Ham. He single-handedly is keeping them in games. Vicario is just like one little like statistic point just behind him. So that just shows that he's even kept us in games this season, Vicario. Well.
I think we've got Madison for 40 million, Vicario for 20 million, two bargains and two stars.
I'd argue almost maybe more of a steal than Madison when you actually look at how nobody even knew about him in the first place. I think.
And also, if he can do a one-handed save like Pat Jennings, then we've got a genius on our hands. Because Pat Jennings was...
Joe...
Yeah, go on, Mia, sorry. No, go on.
Yeah, Joe, what Hotspur 82 said is true. A lot of people were doubting him that he could grab the ball out of the air. A lot of people said he just parries it away. And already we're seeing him grabbing that ball out of the air and bringing it down. So it just shows how much he's even probably learned since coming to Tottenham. And if he can further improve, honestly, the more we talk about this team, it gets me so gassed. I'm going to come off this supremely gassed because I just think about our team and I just get super happy and gassed about it. Because all the positions, I'm like, oh my God, and this player, oh my God, and this player. It's crazy at the minute, honestly. It's actually mad.
We are coming to the end of this podcast now. We've just got two more little questions left. They won't be long. Just very quickly, Jack, on Højbjerg. Look, I think he's been linked with Juventus with a loan to buy obligation. Look, I think I'd be sad to see Højbjerg go because I think he gave a lot to the team. We overused them where we had to because we had no other better players around them. I think he has been a Danish Viking, but I think there's better players now in that position than Højbjerg. I think we've stepped up, I think, from the Højbjerg position. We've got Bentancur coming back as well. We've got Basuma, Papasar. So I think Højbjerg time is up. Will you be sad to see him go? And your best Højbjerg moment for you?
I'd be very sad to see him go. I don't think Juventus is the right club for him, though. I think he should hold out for Atletico. I feel like Atletico is actually the right club for him. They seem to be playing all right this season, or at least better than they usually have been in the last couple of seasons. So I would definitely advise him to, hold on to that move if he can. I would be sad to see Højbjerg go. I think he played very well for us during when we were probably our most shit. And he was somebody that could be counted, ended up playing the most games too. Like when we had a bunch of guys that were either injured, didn't want to play, weren't even putting in good performances. Højbjerg was one of the single guys that just stood up and was there to be counted every single time. Yes, he's not the most talented player on the pitch, but I think he showed a lot more heart over the last 3 years than most players that I can recall. And I actually think he improved season on season on season. I think he became actually a better player from when we actually originally bought him. And I think he can handle himself as a decent midfielder, if not a top midfielder for kind of most clubs. I honestly think around sort of the Premier League, sort of top 6. Like I think he would get into a lot of sides, or at least be a rotational midfielder for most sides like he is now for Spurs. And I would take 35 million pounds, whatever 40 million pounds that they're willing to take from him. This is probably the time to sell him if you are going to sell him. And I just think he hasn't really been probably given enough sort of appreciation for when he did come into this team to replace, I think, even worse midfielders like Sissoko, Winks, etc. And he ended up doing a good service for us and has also played more games than any of those guys ever has. Like in the space that he has, he's played like 250 games or something, which is just absurd.
Yeah, look, for me, Højbjerg, I know Mia was shaking her head. I'll get you and I'll get Dave and Mia's quick thoughts. And look, for me, I was calling for Højbjerg to be captain at one point. I did. And I do love Højbjerg. I love his attitude. I always called him our Graham Roberts. He was that sort of player. He'd stick his foot in. If you needed somebody to defend in the 90th minute, Højbjerg would be your man. If you're going out in the dark alley, Højbjerg would be your man to back you up. He'd be there. Leave this to me. I've got this. Like Eric Dyer said in the preseason, look what happened to Eric Dyer. I got this. I was doing that watch along with you, Jack. I still can't believe he said that. I've got this. And then he ended up fucking it up. Wanker. Right. Okay. Moving on very quickly. Mia, but I will miss Højbjerg. And if he goes, I wish him all that success. But thank you for what you've done for Tottenham. You've been a real servant and you really have. We've overplayed you, but thank you. Mia, do you agree with Jack? Do you agree with me? Or do you think Højbjerg, no, you're shaking your head?
Let him do a bit of Frozen and let him go. Like, honestly. Joe, what I will say, he played well in a system that he was required to play in. I'm not going to diss him for that. He played well as a defensive, like more defensively. And is he better than Sissoko? That's questionable. I don't know about that one. I think that like Sissoko, he had his moments. I'm not saying he was great, but Højbjerg's the same. I think he's had his moments, but I don't think he's overall a fantastic midfielder can get into any top 6 team. He was scouted by Fulham, and he thought he was above Fulham's level. No, he's probably about Fulham's level. He needs to accept what level he's at, because I don't think he would get into if other teams wanted him, they would have come after him. They didn't. So for me personally, he's not as good. I don't think he suits what Ange wants. He doesn't suit what Ange likes in his midfielders. So I'll say goodbye and say good luck, but he's just not good enough for Tottenham or Ange.
I'll tell you on the next flight home.
I'm hearing rumblings from where Ellie is. I think, hang on.
In Cyprus.
I'm just getting breaking news. Ellie has broke 55,000 plates. She's now looking for a plane home. Hang on. Yeah, and a major earthquake is it where Ellie exploding, basically, after what you've just said about Højbjerg. So, yeah. Breaking news. Ellie earthquake has just happened.
The thing is, we don't want to keep hold of these players, right? We say that Dyer's not good enough. We say that obviously he's not. I'm Ben Davies, but Højbjerg also comes into that category.
I hear that.
and he didn't want to leave when he got scouted to go to Fulham because he would rather sit on the bench than go to Fulham because he thinks he's above Fulham.
You cannot put Højbjerg in the same breath as Moonhead and the Welsh idiot.
No, because I can say they're not good enough. Okay, I think Ben Davies is a bit of a vanilla kind of player, right? And I think that Højbjerg is very similar to that. I don't think he's this all singing, all dancing, fantastic midfielder that needs to be in our team, the same as these other players. I'm not saying that they're the same level of badness. I'm just saying they're not good enough for our team.
Well, I've never heard Ben Davies been called vanilla ice cream before, but there you go. That's something new.
Many times, I believe.
Look,
he's very vanilla. It's like a bit boring, isn't he?
For me on Højbjerg, I think, look, he's when you're buying in the signing, he served the jersey the way I want the signing to do it, with plenty of passion, plenty of heart, always available, always giving his all. Is he good enough for where we're going, or does he fit Ange Postecoglou's system, if even what he wants in the six? No, he's not as mobile. You know, I think that's his problem, right? You look at our midfielders, very energetic, very, high octane. That's what Ange Postecoglou wants. Unfortunately, Højbjerg doesn't have that sort of mobility. And I think, look, time has come to an end with Højbjerg, which for me is sad. I would say, if you let him go this January, you need to go into the market because you're losing Basuma and Papa Matasar to AFCON. So you are going to have to go into the market if you let him go this January. But what I don't understand with this fan base is how quick they've gone after to just get Højbjerg out of here. When, with Dyer, for instance, people made all the excuses. Oh, he's dead in his right to hang around here for the next year, this, that, and the other. And that's where I don't like the treatment of Højbjerg from our fan base because, with other players, there's been excuses. Oh, well, they can do this and they can do that. And it's just been accepted. And I've had arguments about this where it's like, well, no, we could force them out. We just choose not to. But then with Højbjerg's like, and this isn't a dig at anyone in particular, but I see a lot of times, just get him out the club, get him out the club. Okay, well, if we're going to have that tolerance to Højbjerg, why have we tolerated Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies and that for so long? That's what I question.
Yeah, but we don't make the problem this, Dave, is that we don't make those decisions, right? We wanted that Højbjerg had an opportunity to leave. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to go. So he made
the same bet people defended Dyer for not wanting to leave, and they said he was right.
Well, actually, technically, though, just quickly on the Fulham one, I don't think that was going to happen because Palhinha ended up staying, right? And so since Palhinha ended up staying, Højbjerg wasn't going to go to Fulham. And then he also had the interest from Atletico. And then I think he had interest from another club as well. And that was maybe more on the behalf of Spurs, not willing to, they didn't accept a cheap enough deal. With Fulham, I think there was multiple clubs involved, which is why it didn't happen.
It was one of those. Sorry, mate. Just one of those. If one player moved, he would then move to Fulham. But I think it was around that thing.
But to say that, I didn't say for what, we're talking about how my opinions, not the generalised fan base of what everyone says, because there's some people out there who say some wild stuff. I don't take that on board in my opinions, or when I'm giving opinions about anything else. So I don't say it like that. My opinion is that you can't ripping up contracts isn't as simplistic.
But you can't. This is the thing. Okay, we're not ripping. The point is, you can't sit there and defend Eric Dyer and then with Højbjerg.
I'm not defending him, though. I'm not.
But you are. You're doing exactly what you're. You're saying Højbjerg, get him out. He's not.
Hang on. Whoa.
Let me say my piece before you.
Dave, let me
hang on. I want to get this straight. Me was saying I was attacking her opinion. I wasn't. But now I will go after your opinion now that you stated it. With Højbjerg, you sat there and you said, get him out this football club. But with Dyer, you have had many debates and you have defended him being at this football club. And that's the problem.
He's also refused to leave. They both have refused to leave.
Yeah, they both have refused
under your logic. Under your logic, they both refused to leave.
So they
Dyer has definitely refused to leave.
Why, but I'm not trying to defend Dyer in this topic, am I? This is about Højbjerg specifically. So why are we trying to talk about other players when we're talking about one specific player who wants to?
Because I'm saying, I don't like the way people talk about Højbjerg, but yet in the same breath, don't show the same thing to other players.
But it's the difference is he wants to leave. I don't know what part of that You're not comprehending, because if a player wants to leave, let him go. I'm not going to force a player to stay at my club who isn't good enough for the club, who wants to go.
But you didn't mention that. You said you want him gone because of his talent. You didn't mention he wants to leave. You said you want him gone because he doesn't suit Manchester club system.
He doesn't.
That's what you said.
You said he doesn't suit.
Then if we're going on talent basis, which is what you're arguing, but then Dyer's not good enough either. So it's not to do with whether he wants to leave or not. It's to do with is he good enough.
But when have I ever said that Dyer is good enough? That's my whole point. I just said earlier.
You defended him a lot last year.
No, I didn't. Not at all. I said that Dyer needs to go.
We don't.
When did I defend him?
Come on. Look.
I never ever defended him. No, because I won't have somebody lying on my name, because I've never ever defended Dyer. I just said a moment ago we need to get rid of Dyer and get another defender in. Is that me defending him and saying I want him at this club? Is it, Dave? No, it ain't. Don't tell lies when I haven't defended him. What you perceive as me defending him is me maybe making a point about something, but I'm not defending him. Not in a never. Not have I ever.
We've got Rob Domino said, I liked Romet Højbjerg. I think there's a middle ground. He's still useful mirror of the team, but he's not the perfect squad player. I think something Mira has actually said for this moment of time. Dyer, though, a different player, not for us. Daniela, I know I said about earthquake. I was joking. It was something about, I say it to Dave Alert, there's an earthquake in Kildare when we mentioned Harry Kane. So it was only a bit of a joke, Daniela. Yeah, sorry for the misunderstanding. And then Paul sent Mia and Ellie boxing gloves. Big up Paul Brown as well. Look, Hotspur, Højbjerg has changed his agent to force out a move. And that's another thing. He hasn't got an agent now, I think. If I'm getting that correctly, he hasn't. Yeah, he hasn't got an agent.
He hasn't got an agent now.
No, we'll move on anyway. Just the last thing now, Tottenham versus Liverpool. And then after that, you can plug your channels. Mia, let me get your link up first. And Mia's, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Thank you also for the help you've showed, doing everything with me as well. So thank you so much. Tottenham versus Liverpool. What is your score prediction on Saturday? And who do you think is going to be the star player for Spurs? And plug your channel and give your head a wobble while you're plugging it.
Spurs between the lines. I think the score prediction is going to be, my heart is saying we're going to win 3-2, but my head is saying it's going to be a 2-2.
Ooh, a draw. And everyone, please, if you do wobble your head, you can hit the subscription button. It's very difficult. Believe me, I've tried it. It's very difficult, but you can do it. You got to do it with one eye shut. And also that he wants to, Jack, for you, Liverpool, I know you two are the same channel, so I'll let you both plug the channel as well. So, Jack, what's your score prediction for Sunday for Tottenham versus Liverpool? And what have you got coming up on the Irish Hotspur?
3-1 to the mighty Tottenham Hotspur. I'm going to say the pre-match thoughts. All the members, check that out. Prediction lineup or predicted lineup, check that out. And then Dave and I have done yet again the reaction to your guys' predictions. And look out for that tomorrow. That seems to have gone down well. And if we get a good result, hopefully we get to have a good Twitter reacts on top of that too, with everything.
Yeah, well, thank you again for coming on, Jack. It's been a pleasure having you on. It's been too long, sir. It has been too long. You haven't been on here for a while, so it's great to have you back. And Dave-O, down in the corner there, down in the bottom. You're last, the great man last. What's your score prediction on Saturday, and what else is coming up in the Irish Hotspur?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 Tottenham. Look, it's gonna be a tough game, right? We don't have a good record against Liverpool, but it's a different team, fresh sort of team going into it. So, they got out of North London Derby. We've got the home crowd behind us, 5:30 kickoff. The place will be absolutely bouncing. I think the team might feed off that, and I think we'll get a result. But I can't predict their loss or a draw to Spurs. My head's probably telling me 2-2, 1-1, but look, I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham. I think we might just have enough to nick it.
So everyone, please get over to Spurs Between the Lines. Her link is in the channel for Mia's channel. Please, the link's in the channel for Jack and Dave's channel. For myself, I am going for a 3-2 Tottenham win. I think we're not going to... I would love us to not win 3-0, but I can't see it happening. So 3-2 Tottenham win. Romero with the winner. I think he's going to make amends on Saturday. Listen, guys, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, episode number 8 of the Cockeral Clock podcast, not Cock Clock. See, I got it right this time. No Carl Simpson to put me off. It will be going up live on Spotify on our the Cockeral Clock THFC Till I Die Spotify podcast tomorrow. We're back tomorrow at 4, of course, with the build up. I don't know if Mia's joining me for that or it's me and Colin. Well, one of us will be on, and then of course we're back on Saturday with Around the Grounds, the watch along on Saturday, the post match on Sunday, and of course on Monday at 8 o'clock. Now every Monday it will be the podcast with a Premier League review built into the podcast. So we are going to do that every Monday. So listen, thanks for watching. It's been an absolute joy as always. It's been a good one. I've enjoyed this one. And yeah, whatever you do, come on, you Spurs. In Big Ange, we trust. Go on, Jack. Go on. Sorry, I
Come on, you Spurs.
There you go. Mia, do you want to say, come on, you Spurs? Give your head a wobble? No? Okay. Come on, you Spurs.